Ever wondered what life was really like in the Roman Empire? Relax, close your eyes, let your thoughts drift beyond this room, beyond this time. Feel your breath slow down. Feel the soft weight of sleep begin to settle in your limbs. Now, let yourself go. Back to a world of stone and smoke. To olive trees and marching feet. To cold marble floors, oil lamps, and distant voices speaking Latin in the next room. You're about to wake up in ancient Rome, not as a tourist, not as a scholar, but as someone who lives there, a citizen, a servant, or perhaps something in between. Tonight, I'll guide you through a single day in the Roman Empire and help you understand why you, yes, you, wouldn't last a single day. But don't worry, you don't have to. You only need to listen, breathe, and sleep. Subscribe if you'd like to help me make more stories like this. Now, let's begin. You step outside, down the narrow wooden stairs that creak beneath your feet. You pass a neighbor, a woman with a basket of olives. She nods. She doesn't smile. No one smiles this early. The sun hasn't risen yet, but the city is already alive. The street smells of vinegar and wine, urine and smoke. The butcher's shop is 2 blocks away, and you can already hear him shouting at his apprentice. "Faster! Cut with the grain!" The boy drops a cleaver. Metal rings on stone. You walk faster. The road is paved with dark, uneven cobblestones. Water trickles in the gutter, mixed with yesterday's filth. You know to avoid the slippery spots. You've fallen before. The baker's stall is open now, and the smell of bread pulls at your stomach. But you can't afford it. Not yet. Maybe later, if you're lucky. "Livius!" a voice calls out. You turn. It's Marcus, the retired centurion who lives 2 doors down. He's older now, grey-bearded, but he still stands tall. A scar runs from his left temple to his jawline, earned in Dacia, he always says. He's holding a scroll, sealed in wax. "Take this to Gaius on the Palatine," he says. "He'll know what to do." You nod. No payment is mentioned. It's a favour. But Marcus has pulled you from a few tight spots before, and in Rome, debts aren't always paid in coin. You tuck the scroll under your arm and head uphill. The Palatine Hill rises before you, bathed now in morning light. The streets here are cleaner, wider. Guards in polished bronze breastplates watch you as you pass. You keep your head down. You don't belong here. The villas are grand. Marble columns, painted frescoes, private gardens hidden behind high walls. You glimpse slaves trimming hedges, sweeping mosaics, carrying jugs of wine too early for drinking. You knock on a tall wooden door. A servant answers, eyes you, then lets you in. The atrium is stunning. Light spills in through the open roof, reflecting in a shallow pool at the centre. Statues of gods line the walls. Apollo, Minerva, Mercury. Gaius appears. He is younger than you expected, dressed in a deep red toga with a golden border. He looks you over as if measuring your worth. "From Marcus?" he asks. You nod, handing over the scroll. He doesn't thank you. He simply turns and disappears into another room. The servant escorts you out. The door closes behind you. You're back in the street. Your stomach growls. This time, you stop at the baker's. You hold up 2 fingers. The baker nods and hands you a small loaf, still warm. You drop 2 bronze coins into his hand. It's most of what you have today, but it's worth it. You walk toward the forum, eating slowly, tearing off pieces of the bread, careful not to drop a crumb. The forum is alive with voices. Sellers call out their wares, figs from Carthage, glass from Alexandria, dyed wool from Gaul. You pass a man reading aloud from a scroll, poetry maybe. A crowd listens, amused. A politician argues with a merchant over grain prices. You don't linger. This isn't your world either. You keep walking, past the temples, past the baths, toward the river. Down near the Tiber, things are different. This is where labourers gather, where slaves unload cargo from boats, where fish are gutted and weighed. The smell is sharp, brine and blood. You see a boy no older than 10 carrying a crate twice his size. No one offers to help. You sit on a stone wall. You watch the boats. You listen to the city breathe. And you realise, this is just the morning. Only a few hours since you opened your eyes. And already, you're exhausted. You lie on a worn straw mat, wrapped in a coarse wool blanket that scratches against your skin. The faint scent of olive oil, ashes, and dust clings to your nose. Morning sunlight leaks through the wooden shutters, strips of gold across the terracotta floor. A rooster crows, not yours but the neighbours'. You rise slowly. The room is dim, plain, and cold. The walls are covered in faded frescoes, once vibrant, now just shadows of what they were. You slept in your tunica, as everyone does. It's damp with sweat. There's no such thing as fresh linen here, only what you can rinse in the Tiber or pay someone else to wash with stale urine. Outside, Rome breathes before it roars. You slip on your calce, leather sandals stiff from yesterday's grime, and push open the creaking door. The insula, your cramped apartment building, groans above you. 3 stories up, a family is already arguing in shrill Latin, and someone pours a pot of kitchen waste from a window. You dodge instinctively, used to it by now. The street smells of bread, manure, and human life. You are not wealthy. You are not poor. You are Roman. You pass the baker's shop, where warm loaves are being pulled from the clay oven. The scent makes your stomach ache. You don't eat yet. Your day has not earned it. Your name? Perhaps you are Lucius, or Flavia, or Gaius. It hardly matters. The empire does not ask who you are. It asks what you are. Today, you are a labourer, digging trenches for the new aqueduct that Marcus Agrippa is overseeing. You join dozens of other men just past the forum, all of you waiting for the overseer. He arrives mounted, whip coiled at his side, not for use, but for reminder. The sun is rising fast, and so does the heat. You wipe your forehead. The work is backbreaking. You break the soil with iron tools, pass rocks hand to hand, and sweat through the day as you follow orders barked from above. Beside you, a man in his 40s, rough, scarred, with sunken eyes, grunts at you. His name is Felix. He's from Hispania, fought under Julius Caesar, or so he says. He coughs violently into his hand and wipes it on his tunic. You look away. Your muscles burn. Your feet blister. Time crawls like a cart on a muddy road. By noon, you are dizzy. You steal a drink from the shared amphora. Lukewarm water, a few herbs floating in it. Some men chew on olives or stale bread. You have a fig in your pocket, traded from your neighbour's tree. You eat it slowly, savouring the sugar. Someone nearby is talking politics, muttering about the new tax decrees, about Emperor Augustus and his obsession with moral reform. They whisper his name as if he might appear from the sky. You stay silent. One wrong word could cost you your tongue. Later, a patrol of legionaries passes. Their armour clinks, their red cloaks billow slightly in the wind. You don't meet their eyes. One of them, young, maybe 16, glances at you, tired. He reminds you of your nephew, maybe of yourself once. The work ends with the sun. Your back is broken. Your palms are raw. You return to your insula, feet dragging. The streets are louder now. Markets, gossip, distant music. People laugh, argue, haggle. You stop at the corner tavern and trade a coin for watered wine and a bowl of lentils with garum sauce. The fermented fish taste is strong. You force it down. In the corner, an old man speaks of the past, of the time when Rome was still a republic. He's hushed by a younger man with scars on his face. You finish your wine and leave. It's not wise to linger. Back home, your neighbour is singing softly as she grinds barley in a stone bowl. Her child cries from behind the curtain that separates their half room. You nod as you pass. She nods back, eyes hollow but kind. Upstairs, someone lights a clay lamp. Shadows dance on the walls. You stretch out again on your mat. The straw is still lumpy. You smell the smoke from a hearth 2 doors down. You can't remember the last time you felt full, but you are safe for now. Tomorrow will be the same. And if you're lucky, the day after too. You dream of hills outside the city, where sheep graze and olive trees twist like ancient fingers. You dream of silence, of cold water, of sleep without fear. But you wake again before sunrise, and the empire waits. The door creaks open. A warm waft of flatbread and olives reaches your nose. Your host, Marcus, a broad-shouldered man with sun-creased skin and a short, neatly cropped beard, grunts a greeting. He waves you in. His tunic is simple, dust-coloured, and damp with sweat from the morning's labour. Behind him, the house is dim and quiet. His wife, Livia, nods politely from the corner as she stirs a small pot of barley porridge. This is a domus, not wealthy, but proud. Stone floors, faded frescoes on the walls, a faint scent of ash and rosemary in the air. Chickens peck lazily in a side yard beyond a curtained doorway. Marcus points toward the basin. You wash your hands in cool water, and he gestures toward a low table. No chairs, just cushions. You sit. The morning meal is simple. Bread dipped in olive oil, a few olives, a smear of soft goat cheese, and some dried figs. No eggs, no meat. Not today. You're told such things are saved for feast days, or when a pig is slaughtered. Food here is fuel, rarely luxury. Marcus speaks between bites. He's a bricklayer, a member of a collegium, a sort of union sanctioned by the state. Work is steady, if backbreaking. He earns enough to support Livia and their 2 children, who peek at you shyly from behind a curtain. You try to keep up with his Latin. It's fast, clipped, laced with slang. You understand more than you expected. He points to your sandals, too clean, your tunic, too new. He laughs softly, pats your shoulder, then stands. It's time to go. You step outside again, back into the heat. The sun is fully up now, beating on the packed streets. Vendors are calling out their wares. Dates, onions, garum sauce. The acrid scent of vinegar mingles with fresh bread and the occasional, unavoidable waft of open sewage. You walk. Your feet ache. And you haven't even reached the forum yet. The streets get louder, narrower, busier. A slave pushes past, balancing amphorae of wine on each shoulder. A priest mutters to himself, brushing past you with a bronze bowl of smouldering incense. Somewhere behind you, a horse whinnies and then, startled, drops a pile directly in the center of the street. No one flinches. You hear music, a flute and drum, out of tune. Then shouting. You turn the corner and stop. A crowd has gathered in the square, not in celebration, in judgment. A man stands shirtless, arms bound, face swollen and bloody. Behind him, 2 lictors, guards of the magistrate, hold rods bound with leather, the fasces. One of them steps forward. The other reads from a scroll. The man had stolen grain from a warehouse, 3rd offence. He's sentenced to flogging. You look away as the first strike lands. People cheer. Some look bored. You feel your stomach turn. Marcus leans toward you, whispers, "Be glad it's not crucifixion." The sun climbs higher, and with it, the city stirs into a frenzy. You're walking now, following a stream of men wrapped in tunics, most of them barefoot, their calloused feet slapping against the stone. The streets are alive, vendors shouting in Latin, carts creaking under the weight of olives and wine, a child chasing a chicken between the legs of strangers. The smells shift as you move, the sour tang of fermented fish sauce, the warmth of fresh bread, then the foul stench of open drains. You try to hold your breath, but the Romans don't notice it. This is normal to them. You pass a public fountain, and for a moment you think to drink, but the water is cloudy. A slave fills amphorae from the fountain, grunting under their weight. You ask where he's going. To the Thermae, he says. The public baths. It sounds inviting. You're covered in sweat and dust, and it's barely midday, so you follow. The baths of Caracalla rise like a temple, arches higher than any roof you've seen, mosaics glinting in the sunlight. The entrance is crowded. Rich men recline under shade, while others wait in line to enter. You're stopped by a man in uniform, a guard. He eyes your clothes. Do you have your coin? You fumble. Of course you don't. He shakes his head and waves you away. No coin, no bath. It's then you feel the sting of being poor in this empire. Not a slave, not yet, but certainly no citizen. No one offers you help. You wander instead. Down narrow alleys, through the Subura district, where life pulses raw and unpolished. This is where the real Rome breathes. A woman leans from a window, yelling in coarse Latin at someone below. Children run barefoot, covered in soot. A drunk slumps in the shadow of a statue, muttering prayers to Jupiter. You don't belong here either, but no one stops you now. Then you hear it. Music, a flute, a lyre, laughter. You follow the sound around the back of an insula, a tall apartment block stacked like crumbling bricks. At the base is a taberna, a smoky, crowded tavern. Inside it's dark, the air thick with wine and sweat. Men shout over dice. A woman sings. Someone slaps the back of a man in full armor, a legionary. He looks young, barely older than you. His eyes catch yours. You from the provinces? He asks, voice slurred. You nod. Join the legions, he grins. You'll eat better than a dog and die with honor. The table laughs. He's joking, or maybe he isn't. Before you can respond, a trumpet blares outside. A parade? No, it's a detachment of praetorians, the emperor's personal guard. People scatter. Someone was dragged out earlier, accused of theft or treason, or maybe just insolence. You don't ask. In Rome, questions are dangerous. You retreat from the tavern, heart racing, and head toward the forum. It's nearing afternoon. Here, in the center of Roman power, marble columns pierce the sky. Senators in white togas pace the steps, their every word calculated, watched by statues of dead emperors. You pause beside the statue of Julius Caesar. His face is stone, cold, commanding. And yet, you feel the weight of his ghost. You remember what you've heard. Stabbed by men he trusted in this very city. Betrayed. Rome remembers everything, but it forgives nothing. Your stomach growls again. You haven't eaten since dawn, and that was little more than barley mush. Around the forum, food is sold from carts and stalls, but you don't have a single denarius. Even if you did, prices in Rome are steep. Bread costs double what it does in the provinces. The poor often survive on free grain from the state, but you're not registered, not a citizen. You notice a woman handing bread to a child. She sees your stare and clutches the rest to her chest. No charity today, so you keep walking past the Temple of Saturn, where priests in long robes burn incense and chant in Latin. The smoke stings your eyes. You don't understand the words, but it sounds old, sacred. Rome is a city of gods and ghosts. Someone grabs your shoulder. You spin around. It's the legionary from the tavern. Thought I'd find you here, he slurs. You looked lost. You nod, cautious. Name's Marcus, he says. Marcus Petronius Vitellius, first cohort, retired, mostly. He He smells like wine and leather and iron. He looks you over. You strong? Can carry a pack? You speak Latin? You hesitate, then nod. You speak enough to survive. Good, he says. I can get you work, but it's not honest. You game. You pause. Before you can answer, shouting erupts down the street. A crowd is forming, moving fast. Someone yells, "To the Colosseum!" The beasts are ready. Marcus grins. Forget work. Come, you need to see this. You follow. The Colosseum is larger than you imagined. From a distance, it looks like a mountain of stone. Up close, it swallows the sky. Columns stacked atop columns, arches stretching into shadow. The crowd pulses like a living thing. Thousands of Romans pushing through the gates, laughing, yelling, waving tickets. You're pulled along with them. Marcus knows a guard. He slips him a coin, and you're in. Inside, the smell hits first. Blood, sweat, wet stone. The noise is deafening. Drums, horns, the roar of 100 voices echoing under the open sky. You climb to the upper levels, where the poor sit. From there, you see everything. The sand below is already stained red. A man with no shield stumbles across the arena, chased by a lion. The crowd screams. Some cheer for the man, most cheer for the beast. The lion pounces. It's over in seconds. You flinch. Marcus doesn't. That's what justice looks like here, he says, tearing into a fig. Criminals, slaves, sometimes Christians, sometimes anyone the crowd hates enough. You swallow hard. This, he says, sweeping a hand, this is the real Rome. The sun begins to rise higher in the sky, casting a golden hue over the tiled rooftops of Rome. The scent of baked bread wafts from a nearby stall. A vendor waves lazily in your direction as you pass, his hands dusted in flour, his eyes half closed from the heat and repetition. You smile and move on. You've learned not to linger. Too many eyes. Too many questions for a face they don't recognize often. Your feet carry you toward the Subura, the gritty, pulsing heart of the lower city. The streets narrow here. The buildings lean in like gossiping old women, their upper floors connected by creaking wooden bridges. Clothes hang from ropes above, swaying in the dusty breeze. Water drips from clay gutters, landing with soft splashes beside cracked paving stones. And here, the empire feels different. It's not marble or statues. It's shouting fishmongers, laughing thieves, stray cats and hungry boys with eyes too old for their faces. You see a group of children chasing a dog, their bare feet slapping the stone. A soldier lifts his cup outside a tavern, grinning drunkenly as his comrades throw dice in the alley. Suddenly, a voice calls out to you, sharp, familiar. Domina. You turn. It's Livia, the widow who lives 2 doors down from your insula. She sells herbs and rumours with equal skill. Today, she's wearing a purple shawl, a luxury for someone in her position. I saw your servant boy at the well this morning, she says, not bothering with pleasantries. He had a look in his eye. Trouble's coming, isn't it? You nod, choosing not to speak. Sometimes silence is your best shield. She narrows her gaze. You keep secrets better than a Vestal, she mutters before vanishing back into the crowd. You shake off the encounter, but her words cling like the smell of garlic on your tunic. Trouble is coming. You've felt it for days. Whispers in the market. The sudden tightening of the guard presence near the forum. A senator's home burned 2 nights ago. Quietly, without inquiry. And yesterday, one of your husband's old friends, Gaius Fabius, was found floating in the Tiber, face down. No signs of robbery, just silence. You reach the forum. It's alive with movement. Men in white togas argue at the curia. Traders unload amphorae of olive oil from distant Hispania. And somewhere, a man with a lyre is playing a song that's older than the Republic itself. You pause at the base of the rostra, the speaker's platform, carved from ancient stone. Cicero once stood here, and Julius Caesar. You try to imagine the sound of their voices, commanding crowds, shaping destinies, deciding the fate of millions with only words. Your own voice feels small in comparison. A child bumps into you, apologizes, slips away. Only later do you notice your pouch is gone. A skilled hand, you think. Someone taught him well. You don't bother chasing. What's taken is taken. Instead, you follow the sound of drums, faint, slow, ceremonial. A funeral procession. Wealthy, judging by the instruments. You slip into the shadows as they pass. The family walks proudly, dressed in deep mourning. Behind them, actors wearing wax masks of the deceased's ancestors reenact the man's lineage, his triumphs, his wars, his honors. A living family tree, marching through time. It's a tradition unique to Rome, and watching it unfold, you feel a strange chill, as though time itself is watching you back. You don't belong here, and yet, you're part of it now. Your chores are far from over. As the sun climbs higher, so does the noise of the street. Merchants shout, oxen groan under their loads, and the clatter of wooden wheels against stone never stops. You slip out with a woven basket in hand, tasked with fetching bread and lentils from the market before noon. You walk fast, knowing the best loaves go early. The air smells of dust and sweet fig mash. You pass a child balancing on the edge of a fountain, arms outstretched like a gladiator in the arena, while his sister yells at him to stop. Just a few steps ahead, a soldier leans against a wall, sipping watered wine, his bronze armor dulled by use. He eyes you with indifference. At the forum, the bustle intensifies. A man recites the day's news from a wax tablet, his voice competing with a woman selling dyed tunics. There's a bakery with a line already, the scent of charred flour and warm loaves pulling you forward. You hand over a coin, still slightly sticky with yesterday's honey, and receive a round, crusty panis quadratus. The same style of bread excavated centuries later from Pompeii's ashes. As you walk back through the alley, you nearly trip over a boy who's been whipped for stealing. His back is bleeding, the thin lashes leaving welts like claw marks. A magistrate's slave drags him by the wrist, shouting words you don't understand, but the meaning is clear. You look away. Back home, your mother is boiling lentils, mixing them with leeks and fish sauce. She stirs absently, listening for gossip from the neighbor's window. You break the bread into pieces, and the family eats in near silence. There is no joy in the meal, but no misery either. Just a quiet routine carved from the stone of survival. The afternoon heat drives you outside. You find shade under the tall wall of the baths, sitting with others your age, all equally sunburnt and bored. One boy speaks about joining the legions, about travelling north to Germania, where the snow is said to fall like ash. You've heard stories of the barbarians, their heads dyed with lime, their breath stinking of milk and rot. You wonder if they fear Romans the way Romans fear them. Then the ground trembles lightly. Not an earthquake. You're used to those. No, this is the rhythm of hooves and shields. A unit of soldiers returns from a training drill. Their march is brutal, synchronized, beautiful in a way. The centurion shouts, and the line shifts with a sound like leather tearing. You watch, mesmerized. Among them is someone you recognize, Marcus Vettius, the butcher's second son, now wearing the polished armor of a legionary. He does not look at you. He stares straight ahead, his eyes empty. You wonder what he's seen. Later that day, you visit the public latrines. The smell is overwhelming, but it's part of life. You use a communal sponge, rinsed in vinegar, and exchange awkward greetings with an old man beside you. Privacy is a luxury no one expects. Evening falls. The streets cool and the air fills with smoke from olive oil lamps. You hear the distant music of a tavern, flutes, a drum, laughter too loud to be genuine. Your father returns with dust on his toga and stress in his shoulders. He doesn't say much. He never does anymore. At night, you climb to the flat roof and lie under the stars. You stare at the same constellations that guided Caesar, that will one day guide emperors yet unborn. You think about your future. You think about leaving. You think about how many thousands of others are living days just like yours, harsh, long, quietly heroic. You fall asleep to the hum of the city, the occasional bark of a dog, and the sound of someone weeping softly in the next courtyard. Rome does not sleep, not really, and tomorrow you'll do it all again. You blink against the blinding sunlight. The air is thick with dust, smoke, and a strange pungent scent. Olive oil, sweat, and wet wool. You're standing in a bustling Roman marketplace, the Forum Boreum, where traders shout in Latin, donkeys bray under heavy loads, and children dart between columns carved by forgotten artisans. A man bumps into you. He doesn't apologize. No one does. You're invisible here. You try to orient yourself, but nothing feels familiar. You're barefoot, the rough stone beneath you hot and uneven. A small copper coin, an as, sits in your sweaty palm, but it means nothing to you. You have no idea what it's worth or what it can buy. You tuck it into your tunic, though you don't even remember putting the tunic on. A woman in a worn stola yells at her son for stealing a fig. Another man sharpens a knife and eyes your sandals like they're made of gold. They're not. You're not special here. You're poor. You're alone. And you don't speak a word of their world. But then, you see him. Marcus. A soldier. No. A veteranus. He's just returned from the northern frontier. His face is weathered like leather. His eyes dark as volcanic glass. You try to ask for help, but he hears only garbled nonsense in your voice. Still, something in your panic touches him. He gestures for you to follow. You're swept into his world, a small domus tucked into a cramped insular tenement. Inside, the walls are cracked with age, but a tiny lamp flickers beside a carved wooden figurine of Jupiter Optimus Maximus. Marcus offers you bread, soaked in wine. It's stale, but you devour it. You didn't even realize you were starving. You ask him where you are, and though you don't understand his words, he draws a rough line in the air and points east. Rome, he says. Roma. You nod, pretending to understand. But the streets outside are never silent. There are no windows with glass, no privacy. You barely sleep as dogs bark, carts rattle, and drunken voices echo into the night. You wake the next day, confused and aching, to a loud censor yelling about the latest tax collection. Marcus is gone, and without him, you're no one again. You try to walk, but everywhere you go, you're met with suspicion. You don't have the right accent. You don't know how to bow, how to trade, how to signal respect. You try to drink from a public fountain, an aqua virgo, but are pushed aside by a woman yelling about your place. And then the heat hits you. It's not like modern heat. It's relentless. You can't escape it. There's no ice, no fans, no shade in the insula. Your mouth is dry, your lips cracked, and the air reeks of chamber pots dumped from second-story windows. You sit beside a temple to Vesta, goddess of the hearth, trying to catch your breath. A girl with ash on her face kneels inside, tending the sacred flame. The Vestal virgins, untouched by man, sacred to the city. You try to speak, but the guards block your path. You're an outsider, and outsiders vanish. The day ends with aching feet, a sunburned neck, and a realization that this world was never made for you. You thought you could handle it. You thought Rome would be all marble and glory. but it's chaos. It's survival. And you haven't even met the worst part yet. Tomorrow is bath day. You follow the Praetorian Guard through the streets of Rome. It's not like yesterday, when the bustle of merchants and laughter of children painted a cheerful scene. Today is heavier. Something's wrong. You can feel it in the way the guard walks. Rigid, like he's hiding something. He doesn't speak. You pass by the temple of Castor and Pollux, where yesterday there had been an offering. Now, the steps are darkened with something you don't want to look at too closely. A group of men in senatorial togas stand in a circle, speaking in hushed tones. One of them glances your way. His face is pale. "Don't make eye contact," the guard mutters. He takes you into the Curia, the Senate House, one of the most sacred spaces in all of Rome. Inside, the air is thick with tension. A name is whispered again and again, Calpurnius Piso. You remember hearing about him, wealthy, charismatic, but also dangerous. Then, another name, Nero. Not the calm face of the statues you've passed, not the poetic figure spoken of by musicians, but the real Nero. Paranoid, cruel, watching everything. You've stumbled into something that might be fatal. The aftermath of the Pisonian conspiracy, an attempt to kill the emperor. And now, any unfamiliar face, like yours, could be seen as a threat. The Praetorian doesn't let you stay. "We were never here," he says sharply. Back outside, the sun is rising higher. You feel sweat on your neck, but it's not from the heat. You're taken to the baths, trying to look ordinary. But even there, whispers travel fast. In the tepidarium, as warm steam surrounds your aching muscles, you overhear two men debating whether Seneca, yes, the Seneca, is guilty. They argue in quiet Latin tones, their voices muffled by the stone. You try to disappear into the warmth. You try to breathe. But deep down, you know, the next hour could change your fate. You've survived this long in Rome, but now you're brushing against its deepest danger. Not fire, not war, but politics. And in Rome, politics kills. You dry yourself quickly, careful not to draw attention. The marble floor of the baths is slick, and voices echo like ghosts in the mist. You can't stop thinking about what you heard. Seneca, Piso, Nero. These are not stories told in wine-soaked taverns. These are real people. And somehow, you're in their shadow now. You slip on your tunic and hurry out into the open air. The heat strikes your damp skin. Rome smells of dust, baked bread, and fear. You don't go back to the guard. You know better. Instead, you head east, past the Subura again, though even here, the normal chaos feels muted. A fruit vendor is packing up early. He nods at you, but his eyes dart behind your shoulder. He's seen the same unrest. Then footsteps, not loud but steady. They're not chasing you. Not yet. You duck into a side alley, slipping behind stacked amphorae and mouldy crates. You wait. You hold your breath. But it's not a soldier. It's a boy. Maybe 12, eyes too tired for his age. He looks at you and says, "They're asking questions about you." You blink. "Who?" He shrugs. "All of them." He runs, and that's all the answer you get. You need shelter, fast. Somewhere nobody would ask names. You find it in the old quarter near the Aventine Hill. A run-down popiner, a tavern for slaves, beggars and drunk philosophers. You sit in the dark corner, order whatever cheap wine they have, and keep your head low. A woman sits down across from you. You didn't see her enter. She's older, sharp-eyed, dressed in plain robes. "You don't belong here," she says. You say nothing. "You met the guard this morning." Now your throat tightens. She sips from your cup without asking. "My name is Fabia. I used to be a handmaid to Agrippina." You know the name. Nero's mother. "She's dead," you whisper. Fabia's eyes harden. Yes, because of Nero. You realize this isn't chance. This is recruitment. You're not the first outsider to walk into something bigger than yourself, she says. But you might be the last if you're not smart. You nod slowly. What do you want from me? She leans closer. Not much. Just a name, a direction, maybe one small message delivered. And suddenly, you're no longer a bystander. You're part of it. The conspiracy might not be dead after all. She writes something in wax on a small tablet, folds it shut, and slides it to you. Deliver this to the apothecary on Vicus Patricius. Do it before sundown. Do not open it. You slip the tablet under your belt, back into the streets, back into the heart of Rome. You walk fast, but not too fast. The wax tablet presses cold against your skin as you head north, past the Quirinal Hill, toward Vicus Patricius. The streets are alive, but restless. Vendors shout softer than usual, and more soldiers patrol than yesterday. Eyes meet yours and slide away again. No one wants trouble. Everyone smells it coming. You find the apothecary in a narrow stone building, half hidden by ivy and the fading light of late afternoon. A carved wooden sign swings over the doorway. Herbae et venenum. You step inside. The air is thick with crushed leaves, vinegar, and something sharper. Something metallic, like blood. Behind the counter stands a man with ink-stained fingers and a crooked spine. He doesn't look up. He's slicing dried belladonna leaves with surgical precision. You clear your throat. I was told to deliver this. You slide the tablet forward. He finally looks up, and his eyes, grey, almost colourless, meet yours without blinking. He says nothing as he takes the message. He places it under a mortar and continues his work. What is it? You ask, against your better judgment. He stops slicing. Something that may change the empire, or kill it. And that's all he says. You don't wait for more. You step back into the street, heart pounding louder than the footsteps behind you. You swear someone is following, but every time you turn, it's just a beggar, or a vendor, or a stray dog. The sky darkens. You return to the Popina as Fabia instructed. She isn't there. Instead, a man sits where she was, broad shoulders, scar across his jaw. He drinks without speaking, but slides you a coin under the table. Etched into the coin is a laurel wreath and a dagger. You know what it means. You're in now. There's no backing out. That night, you don't sleep. Not really. You lie on a straw mat in a stranger's room above the tavern, listening to every sound, every whisper. Rome doesn't sleep either. Somewhere in the city, conspirators whisper in shadowed rooms, and Nero's spies do the same. At dawn, you're woken by pounding at the door. You freeze. Is it the Praetorians? The door opens. It's Fabia. Her face is pale. They arrested Piso last night, she says. It's over. Your stomach drops. Then, we failed, she nods. Yes and no. She reaches into her robes and pulls out another wax tablet. This wasn't Piso's alone. The people won't forget. There will be others. You hesitate. I'm not Roman, you whisper. She smiles, thin and bitter. That might be why you survive. Then she vanishes into the crowd like smoke. You walk back toward the forum, and for the first time in 3 days, you feel like a ghost yourself. A shadow moving through marble and power, through history. And as you pass a group of slaves sweeping the street, one of them looks up, just a boy, and asks, "Are you one of them?" You don't answer, because you're not sure anymore. The sun creeps higher, but the warmth doesn't reach your skin. You sit on a stone bench near the baths of Titus, watching men and women in white togas flow past like spirits. Their voices are low, and every few minutes, someone glances over their shoulder. There's a chill in the air, not from the weather, but but from fear. Word is spreading. Someone has been executed. Someone important. You don't need to ask who. A young water carrier stops to fill a jug at the fountain beside you. They say his head was nailed to the Senate door, he mutters, as if to no one. Like a warning. You say nothing. Instead, you rise and walk toward the Subura. The alleys narrow, the people roughen, and the smell shifts from incense to rot. This is where Rome breathes from its belly, loud, poor, chaotic. A street performer bangs a drum and sings a song mocking Nero. You catch a glimpse of a cloaked man in the shadows, shaking his head slowly. A few moments later, the song stops. So does the singer. He's gone. No one saw a thing. At a nearby stall, you buy a fig wrapped in honeyed bread. Your hands shake. You haven't eaten since yesterday. The baker leans in. They're arresting people who just knew Piso. Just saying his name could get you crucified now. You chew slowly. In the distance, a group of legionaries march by. The sound of their sandals on stone is steady, merciless, like thunder with discipline. You drift toward the Tiber. By the riverbank, a group of slaves are burning what looks like a stack of letters and scrolls. One of them is crying silently. You recognize the seal on the parchment. It's the mark of Seneca, Nero's former tutor. He was forced to take his own life. It's all unraveling, and you're still here, still breathing, still pretending you're not involved. At sunset, you return to the apartment Fabia had shown you. It's empty. The oil lamp still burns, casting shadows on the bare wall. A cloak lies folded on the bed, yours now. There's a knock at the door. This time it's not urgent. It's soft, careful. You open it slowly. A young girl stands there, barely 10, with a message scratched onto a piece of broken pottery. Go to the temple at midnight. Bring nothing. Trust no one. She vanishes before you can speak. And now you're left alone again, as the sky turns purple over the eternal city. You sit by the window and watch the glow from torches flicker across tiled roofs and temple columns. You should run. You could leave Rome, disappear into the countryside, find a quiet life where no one speaks of emperors or poison. But something keeps you here. Maybe it's the cause. Maybe it's her. Maybe it's the simple fact that after everything you've seen, everything you've lived through, this is who you are now. Not a tourist, not a merchant, but someone who walked the alleys of a dying republic in the belly of an empire and survived. So far. The sun creeps higher, but the warmth doesn't reach your skin. You sit on a stone bench near the baths of Titus, watching men and women in white togas flow past like spirits. Their voices are low, and every few minutes, someone glances over their shoulder. There's a chill in the air, not from the weather, but from fear. Word is spreading. Someone has been executed. Someone important. You don't need to ask who. A young water carrier stops to fill a jug at the fountain beside you. They say his head was nailed to the Senate door, he mutters, as if to no one, like a warning. You say nothing. Instead, you rise and walk toward the Subura. The alleys narrow, the people roughen, and the smell shifts from incense to rot. This is where Rome breathes from its belly, loud, poor, chaotic. A street performer bangs a drum and sings a song mocking Nero. You catch a glimpse of a cloaked man in the shadows, shaking his head slowly. A few moments later, the song stops. So does the singer. He's gone. No one saw a thing. At a nearby stall, you buy a fig wrapped in honeyed bread. Your hands shake. You haven't eaten since yesterday. The baker leans in. They're arresting people who just knew Piso. Just saying his name could get you crucified now. You chew slowly. In the distance, a group of legionaries march by. The sound of their sandals on stone is steady, merciless, like thunder with discipline. You drift toward the Tiber. By the riverbank, a group of slaves are burning what looks like a stack of letters and scrolls. One of them is crying silently. You recognize the seal on the parchment. It's the mark of Seneca, Nero's former tutor. He was forced to take his own life. It's all unraveling, and you're still here, still breathing, still pretending you're not involved. At sunset, you return to the apartment Fabia had shown you. It's empty. The oil lamp still burns, casting shadows on the bare wall. A cloak lies folded on the bed, yours now. There's a knock at the door. This time, it's not urgent. It's soft, careful. You open it slowly. A young girl stands there, barely 10, with a message scratched onto a piece of broken pottery. Go to the temple at midnight. Bring nothing. Trust no one. She vanishes before you can speak, and now you're left alone again as the sky turns purple over the eternal city. You sit by the window and watch the glow from torches flicker across tiled roofs and temple columns. You should run. You could leave Rome, disappear into the countryside, find a quiet life where no one speaks of emperors or poison. But something keeps you here. Maybe it's the cause. Maybe it's her. Maybe it's the simple fact that after everything you've seen, everything you've lived through, this is who you are now. Not a tourist, not a merchant, but someone who walked the alleys of a dying republic in the belly of an empire and survived. So far. The sun creeps higher, but the warmth doesn't reach your skin. You sit on a stone bench near the baths of Titus, watching men and women in white togas flow past like spirits. Their voices are low, and every few minutes, someone glances over their shoulder. There's a chill in the air, not from the weather, but from fear. Word is spreading. Someone has been executed. Someone important. You don't need to ask who. A young water carrier stops to fill a jug at the fountain beside you. They say his head was nailed to the Senate door, he mutters, as if to no one. Like a warning, you say nothing. Instead, you rise and walk toward the Subura. The alleys narrow, the people roughen, and the smell shifts from incense to rot. This is where Rome breathes from its belly, loud, poor, chaotic. A street performer bangs a drum and sings a song mocking Nero. You catch a glimpse of a cloaked man in the shadows, shaking his head slowly. A few moments later, the song stops. So does the singer. He's gone. No one saw a thing. At a nearby stall, you buy a fig wrapped in honeyed bread. Your hands shake. You haven't eaten since yesterday. The baker leans in. They're arresting people who just knew Piso. Just saying his name could get you crucified now. You chew slowly. In the distance, a group of legionaries march by. The sound of their sandals on stone is steady, merciless, like thunder with discipline. You drift toward the Tiber. By the riverbank, a group of slaves are burning what looks like a stack of letters and scrolls. One of them is crying silently. You recognize the seal on the parchment. It's the mark of Seneca, Nero's former tutor. He was forced to take his own life. It's all unraveling, and you're still here, still breathing, still pretending you're not involved. At sunset, you return to the apartment Fabia had shown you. It's empty. The oil lamp still burns, casting shadows on the bare wall. A cloak lies folded on the bed, yours now. There's a knock at the door. This time, it's not urgent. It's soft, careful. You open it slowly. A young girl stands there, barely 10, with a message scratched onto a piece of broken pottery. Go to the temple at midnight. Bring nothing. Trust no one. She vanishes before you can speak, and now you're left alone again, as the sky turns purple over the eternal city. You sit by the window and watch the glow from torches flicker across tiled roofs and temple columns. You should run. You could leave Rome, disappear into the countryside, find a quiet life, where no one speaks of emperors or poison, but something keeps you here. Maybe it's the cause, maybe it's her, maybe it's the simple fact that after everything you've seen, everything you've lived through, this is who you are now. Not a tourist, not a merchant, but someone who walked the alleys of a dying republic in the belly of an empire and survived. So far. You're still in Rome. Day 3, and the sun begins to droop behind the tiled rooftops. The street musicians play their lyres softer now, their melodies floating like ghosts between alley walls. You don't even know where your feet are taking you anymore, just that they hurt. Blisters have grown under your sandals. Your tunic clings to your back, sticky from the day's heat, and the faint scent of smoke and sweat follows you like a shadow. Someone calls your name, not your real one, but the Latin one they gave you when you arrived. It sounds natural now. It doesn't jolt you the way it did on day 1. It's Lucius, the baker's son. He runs up to you with ash on his hands, laughing, pulling you toward the thermopolium, the Roman version of a fast food stall. It's just a brick storefront with clay jars sunken into stone counters, each filled with soups or boiled vegetables. You don't care what's in them. You sit, you eat, lentils and barley again. You're too tired to chew properly. Across from you, a woman tells a story of her brother being conscripted into the Legio II Augusta. He left last month, north, toward the Danube frontier. He hasn't written. He probably won't. You glance at Lucius. He doesn't want to join the army, but soon he'll have no choice. And you? You're no soldier either. But try telling that to the Empire. A whistle blows, then shouting. Somewhere down the street, a man runs past, bleeding, limping, carrying something. He brushes your shoulder as he passes, and a soldier, helmet gleaming under torchlight, charges after him. The thief drops a loaf of bread. Lucius picks it up. The soldier stops. He stares at the boy, then at you. Silence. For a moment, the world feels like a held breath, but the soldier says nothing. He grabs the loaf and continues running. You realize then, Rome isn't a place of rules. It's a place of survival. Back home, your neighbor Marcus is scraping olive oil off his skin with a bronze strigil after returning from the baths. He offers you some water. You drink. Slowly. Then he asks, "Did you hear? The Senate's debating a new grain tax." You nod. But you're not thinking about grain. You're thinking about that soldier, the way he looked at you, the emptiness in his eyes. How many more days like this could you take? 3, a week, a lifetime. Evening falls in Rome. Day 3 fades like candlelight behind cracked shutters. You're sitting on the rooftop now, beside a clay chimney that exhales warm air from the kitchen below. The terracotta tiles are uneven beneath you, but after the chaos of the streets, they feel like peace. Below, Rome hums, not with shouting or marching. No, not now. Now it murmurs, like a city letting out a long breath. The bakery has stopped its work. The forums are empty. The bathhouses are closed. Even the stray dogs curl into doorways, dreaming their own Roman dreams. Your legs are sore, your mind blurred by too many faces, too many new words. Latin still slips in and out of your thoughts. Your own language feels foreign now, just another tongue drowned in the Tiber. You think about food, about home, about comfort, but there is no bed waiting for you, no pillow, just a folded blanket on a wooden board in a cramped room shared with 2 others. There is no silence in Roman homes, just the scratch of rats, the creak of rope beds, the cough of someone sleeping too close. Still, there is something beautiful in this exhaustion. You made it to the end of the day. A bell rings in the distance, one of the temples. You can't tell which god it's for. Maybe Jupiter, maybe Minerva, maybe just another offering made in fear or in hope or habit. Rome runs on ritual. Everything has its place. Even you somehow. In just 3 days, you've worn the sandals, eaten the barley, dodged the soldiers, felt the sting of Roman life beneath your fingernails. You've survived the baths, the market, the noise. You've walked where senators walk. You've watched slaves carry lamps up marble stairs they'll never climb for themselves. And now you sit above it all, listening to a city breathe. Somewhere below, a woman sings. Not well, but softly. A lullaby, maybe. Maybe for her children, maybe for herself. You lean back on your elbows, letting your gaze drift across the skyline. There's no empire up here. No taxes, no grain rations, no governors or garrisons. Just rooftops and stars. You wonder how many others have done the same, escaped up here for just a moment of stillness. Maybe even emperors did it once. Before they were marble statues, before they were stories. Tomorrow will come quickly. More carts, more shouting, more ash in your mouth. The city doesn't stop for anyone, not even you. But tonight, you can be still. And your roommate stirs inside. You hear him cough twice, then silence. You should go in, sleep if you can. But instead, you sit, watching one last torch flicker out in the street below. And in that moment, Rome doesn't feel like history. It feels like now. This was only 3 days in Rome. 3 days of crowded streets, bitter wine, coarse bread, and endless voices. 3 days of sweat, smoke, and stone. 3 days of survival, not glory. Still think you'd last a week? Still think Rome was all marble columns and epic speeches? Comment 1 week under this video, and I'll take you back. Back to the chaos, back to the empire, back to Rome. But for now, close your eyes. You've earned your rest.